on.
It is 7 o'clock on Thursday, January 10th. And to call to order the regular city council meeting for the city of Alburnett. I'm going to amend the agenda slightly and have the county sheriff go first so we can get him back on the road.
Well, thank you. Deputy Norman,
It's like we had, out of the required 43 hours, we had about 80 and a half. And total number of calls of service were 31.
thank you.
That was from December 13th to today's date.
Any comments or concerns from council? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alright, and with that we will get back to our regular agenda. So we first will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. There's a flag there and also behind the council. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And move on to roll call.
Counselor Munson?
Present.
Counselor Sean?
Present.
Counselor Saracen?
Present.
Counselor Sean?
Trump here.
We do have a... Kind of. We do have a quorum. Please note we are missing Councilor Hendrickson and Mayor McClintock. Next, I look for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Schatz.
Second.
Second by Menson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. We did the sheriff. So we're on to number 6, which is the mayor's report. With Charlie not here, I would just like to thank everyone for their time Tuesday night at the budget meeting. I know it was a long night, but it was nice to go through it in detail and have some discussions and talk priorities. So just thank everybody for their time, as well as our employees. That is all for the mayor's report. Any council reports?
Thank you for doing the website.
You're welcome.
I did a little messing around on it the other night. It's very nice. I thank you for that, because that is way above me. So thank you.
I guess I'd like to thank our maintenance men for taking down our Christmas decorations, and also I see the Christmas tree is gone. So that's good to have those things done.
Thank you.
Joe?
Nothing else other than I enjoy the improvement in the seating up here.
This is nice.
More to come. I got all the pieces for making the council table today, so
Good.
just a little construction now.
Alright, so next on the agenda are citizen comments. So we have 2 areas where citizens can make comments on agenda items and then non-agenda items. So we will ask if there are any comments specific to agenda items. Alright, I see none. Any comments on non-agenda items? Alright. Move on to written reports, fire department.
I don't have a lot from what I put down. I think in April we're going to go to a fire drill. April 2nd. 6th. April 6th, that's usually it. Other than that, pretty slow.
What are hours for that usually? I can get it up on the calendar.
4 to 7.
At the fire station.
Yep.
Everything's up and running,
Yep.
training equipment, we're all good?
Got the computer, so we'll get that installed.
Perfect. Yeah. Did that go to Mike first for anything?
We figured we'd let them get it set up and then have Mike go over, and because there's no monitor with it, and I just figured you could set it up the way you want it, and then we'll have Mike do the antivirus.
Yeah, TJ said he was going to transfer everything over, so.
Yeah, Mike just needs to put the antivirus stuff on it and that kind of thing, so.
Perfect. Any questions for Steve? Alright. Public Works.
Only thing to add is I have started contacting some of the, it's not really Public Works, but I've started contacting some of the committees, the Planning and Zoning and Board of Adjustments, to talk to a few people, starting to feel them out, if they want to stay on it, if they'd like to be removed, and kind of come up with a couple of names of possible replacements. We know we have 2 people that moved out of town, so other than that, I think the report's pretty self-explanatory. The repairs at the lift station, including adding the float system to make sure we don't have that issue again, really came in pretty reasonable. I thought it was about $3,400, I think. They drove down from Minnesota, did it in about 5-6 hours, and put in a lot of equipment, and so we're safe from having that problem again, sounds like. So. Can't think of anything else? Any questions?
I have a name for a board for you,
Oh, okay,
actually 2.
okay.
They
cool.
said that they were interested.
Okay. Awesome.
I do see here it says you need to purchase more pothole patch. Is that anything you need from us tonight?
No, we don't have, with Main Street being overlaid, there's just not as much need. I probably won't buy a whole pallet like I did the last time. I'll probably go to Menards and buy several bags, and that'll be enough to get us through. So,
Okay. I know there's a few on Roosevelt heading out of town.
yeah, that's the majority of them. There's a couple south of town, a couple on Roosevelt, and then there's a couple places on residential streets that just make it a little smoother. So let's put a bag or 2 in there.
Okay. Anything else for Guy? All right, and City Clerk.
I just wanted to add that I looked into on Alburnett, other cities, the option for online payment. I did find a couple of vendors, and one of them, I emailed the city clerk, and it's no cost to the city. It just charges the residents if they decide to use that payment feature. And they really said that they love having that option, and it works really well. So something to definitely look into more and see if they want to get that further.
And then I assume that's a conversation with Data Tech as well.
Yeah,
See how that integrates?
they said they don't integrate it with their software
Okay.
because they want to maintain the control and not run into any issues, so they pull a report and then
And they log the.
Yeah, so I don't know, other than that, how it works.
Okay. Any questions for Danielle? You have a note on nuisance abatement. I know we've brought it up a couple of times, so I just want to point out that that's something you'll pick up when you're back full-time. Is that-
Yeah. I have a letter to get to the attorneys to review before we send it out that I've been working on, but I haven't gotten it finished and to him yet, so.
Okay, perfect. All right, so with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. For approval on that?
I have there's a couple bills added too. I left one for each of you. It was from the landfill, the solid waste agency for $48.26. And then 2 invoices here from the fire department that we got this week. One is for Sandry Fire Supply for $750. And one is from the Fire Service Training Bureau for $25.
And those were in our packet, correct?
The solid waste agency was laid on top, but the others were in the
The other 2 were in packet.
Correct. And then I also gave you copies of the Visa bills so you could see the breakdown.
Any questions? If not, I'd seek approval.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Moved by Shantz,
Second.
second by Trum. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, new business, so HR Green. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. I don't know, stand here, there, sit,
Wherever
or
you want,
wherever.
wherever you want.
Terrific. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come here and kind of present a little bit about ourselves tonight. I am Matt Wildman with HR Green, and Tim Cutsforth is here also. I'll just do kind of a brief introduction of the firm. We brought about 150 PowerPoint slides if you want to go through a long, lengthy presentation about us, but otherwise we'll just try to keep it brief and appreciate the time that we do have. HR Green has been around Cedar Rapids for over 100 years. Started out, was founded here, a civil engineering firm, did a lot of work in Cedar Rapids and surrounding communities. It's funny, I go to towns all over the area and I'll find a set of HR Green plans from the 1960s and 70s for projects that we've done. We've been around for a long, long time and done a lot of work in a lot of areas. And I started talking to a guy, I don't know, probably 3 years ago or more, even about coming up here at some point and present to you guys. I have a passion for working with smaller communities all over the state and all over the region. I started out 10 years in Minnesota doing very, very small wastewater projects for small communities. And to give you an idea how small some of them are, I had to go into one town of about 20 homes and tell them that I recommended that they all sell their homes and buy houses in a nearby community where it was cheaper than actually paying for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade that they would have to do. The cost per home was so high because it was such a small community. But with regulations being what they are, a lot of people kind of get strapped with that, and small communities get the brunt of that a lot of times because they don't have the user base to pay for a lot of improvements a lot of the time. But 3 years ago this month, I approached the Iowa Water Environment Association board and asked to form a small community committee for the state, seeing kind of a lack of committees and availability out there for small towns. But the goal of that committee is to reach out to city officials and administration and talk about upcoming regulations and how to financially prepare for improvements that are coming down the line at some point in the future. And we hold a series of workshops every year in 6 different regions of the state and invite city councils and public works employees and clerks and everybody to come to those workshops and ask questions. And it's an opportunity for small towns to get together, have a meal, and spend a couple hours and talk about what each other's problems are. But my focus at HR Green, I'm in our water group and do a lot of work with water systems and wastewater systems, both on the collection and distribution side as well as the treatment side. Wastewater treatment plant upgrades and water treatment plants where necessary. Groundwater quality, of course, is not getting a whole lot better either, and eventually systems find that levels creep to a point where they need some form of water treatment system. But that's pretty much it on me. HR Green is a multidisciplinary engineering firm. We have basically all municipal engineering services in-house, from civil engineering and environmental engineering to mechanical and structural and electrical and all kinds of different sources. So we've grown to, this year I think we'll eclipse probably 500 employees nationwide, still headquartered in Cedar Rapids. But with that number of employees, I don't claim to be the smartest guy on earth, but I know if I get a question asked, I can go back and there's somebody in our company that has dealt with that in the past and has those answers, and I can get right back to you with answers to those kind of questions. So I'll let Tim talk a little bit about kind of our city engineering services and what he does, but happy to answer any questions that you might have. I'll kind of let Tim talk and then be here for any questions. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a little point of reference, Matt designed Walker's Sager Cell wastewater system, which if we would ever grow to need expansion would be probably an ideal system for us for the size of city that we are. So.
And we're working currently on Central City's system. They started construction on that here just recently, so if you wanted to, in interest, go out and see what one looks like being built, Central City is really close too. So we do a lot of work in the immediate area. And, yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you. If there's anything left to say. Yeah, my name is Tim Cutsworth. I've been with HR Green for about 19 years now. I started out when I got out of college working for the city of Cedar Falls for about 9 years. So I've worked for a smaller community and understand a lot of what you guys are going through. I'm the group leader for the Governmental Services Group in the state of Iowa. The group was created about 7 to 8 years ago, specifically to work with middle to smaller sized communities. As Matt mentioned, we're a fairly decent sized firm and we have all these resources. We have a lot of folks that have worked for, municipalities, counties, states in the past. So they have all this experience working for public agencies. And we were trying to figure out how best to bring all that to bear to help communities like yours and around Iowa. And so we created the Governmental Services Group. And I can tell you 30% of the folks that are in that group here in the state of Iowa have worked, like I mentioned, for communities in the past. And what we focus on primarily is doing city engineering services for folks like you. We are cross-trained. We can do water, sewer, streets, pavement management, asset management. We can do several things like that. We even provide broadband services. There's a lot of those things that are in the flyers there in the folders I provided, so I won't go through all those. You can see on the screen up there, we do some staff augmentation. There are some communities that are smaller that just frankly don't have maybe a public works superintendent, and so we'll maybe fill in there. Don't have a city clerk. We filled in temporarily. Maybe you guys heard what happened down in Swisher a few years ago with their city clerk, and mayor kind of quit on short notice, and so we came in and filled in until they were able to hire somebody and also appoint a new mayor. Program project management is basically what that says. We can come in if you have a city project that you want some help with folks, just to point you in the right direction to get you going. We have folks that can help you with that. Building and safety, we do building inspections, code enforcement, plan review, plat review. That's pretty standard for city engineering work. Plan check I mentioned there, and broadband. In engineering, we can do basically most of the engineering work that you could ever want. If, like Matt said, if we don't do it in the Gov Services Group, we have a whole bunch of folks that could certainly help us. And that provides a lot of bench strength for us and for you guys, a lot of knowledge base. So, you guys, if you want to go to the next slide there. We've been looking forward to try to see where the market is going, how to change, to adapt with the different things that the cities would need. Things like the upcoming 5G network. I mean, that's going to be way cool, by the way. But communities like yours, how do you plan for that? How do you get ready for it? Because it's going to require some infrastructure for folks to come in and do that. How can you maximize it to your best advantage? We can help you plan for that. We can also do alternative service delivery methods where it's not necessarily the standard go out, do requests for proposals, things like that. We can help you do it different, cheaper ways, maybe get better bids at times on certain types of projects. And I think I mentioned that our staff is cross-trained, so we don't have to necessarily go out and bring in specialized people all the time for simpler projects and stuff. We can do the water mains, we can do the sanitary sewers. When we get into the plants and lagoons and Sager cells and things, obviously we need to bring folks like that on. Here, it talks about smart cities. Everything with the internet and 5G and everything else, all the information that's now available, cities need to start looking at how you can mesh all your services together to give you the best information, availability to help you manage your resources, do your capital improvements planning. But also you can do things like help with snow plowing, or when I talk about pavement management, you can go out and identify a plan of which roads you need to address over several years. Maybe try to maximize the life of the existing roads you have that are in decent condition, so you're going to fix them in 20 years, maybe you fix them in 30 years. And that can ultimately save you quite a bit of money. But, you know, smart city is just kind of a catch phrase that you'll hear going on around, you know, different communities. The last one there. This one I probably won't go much into here, but we employ like a green Trex process. I don't know what came up with that name, but it's more about how we help you if you start having a lot of development and things like that. We'll go through a certain process to check plans for you, check different kind of plat reviews and stuff. We have formal processes. We have people in the company that actually specialize in that thing and that type of work. So they've really got that down to a science, and we can certainly help you out with that. To talk specifically about our city engineering, kind of how we craft the contract or that type of thing. The first thing we would start with would kind of be a basic, what we call on-call contract, where it would be things like just attending city council meetings, helping you do research for different things, help you, you know, prepare capital improvement programs. You know, simple day-to-day, guy were to call and say, can you come look at this issue we're having out in this, you know, in this street, or can you help us kind of get some costs together for maybe what it would take to replace this pipe or something like that. You know, we have that type of agreement, and it's kind of a set rate for, you know, we might set it for like $100 an hour or whatever, and then it's for the first 40 hours each month, and even if the president of the company were to work on that project or something, their billing rate would be $100 an hour. If there's people under that billing rate, obviously they would be billed at their current billing rate. So it's kind of a gift back to you guys to do that, to allow us to work with your community and to help you out and try to foster a good working relationship. Now, obviously, again, if we do bigger projects like a wastewater plant or large road projects, then we'll just craft a separate agreement for you guys. That way it's easier for you and also for us to manage and keep track of. But they want to take a whole bunch of your time. I just wanted to leave a little bit of time so you could ask some questions of us if you have any.
Thank you, that was very helpful. I do have a question. Have you had an opportunity to talk to Guy and kind of understand what our priorities are and where we're at? And
Yes, we have. Matt's talked to him several times. Met with you back in November as well. He talked to us about some of the issues you have in town. Some things are going well.
we call them opportunities.
Opportunities for growth. Yes, and you know, he's brought up the fire station as well, and how big a project that is for you folks, and you know, hopefully we can help you out with that as well. So, yes, you know, I think you guys have a great town, and I think it's on the verge of, you know, potentially a lot of growth, being as close to Cedar Rapids and stuff, and I think it would be awesome to get to work with you as you move forward. So.
Questions?
Just one.
You got off easy this time.
So in other words, with you, any project we would have, you could handle without any problem.
I think so, yeah, unless you want to build an international airport, we might.
We can find a sub though.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But there wouldn't be no issue that we call and ask for help. It would be there.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been, like I mentioned, I've been working for HR Green for 19 years, and I've worked with many different municipalities, you know, like Walker, for instance, just next door. We've done road work for them, stormwater improvements, different things like pavement management, asset management, and things. Done a ton of work down in Corwell. I'm currently involved on the west side flood protection in the city of Cedar Rapids. You know, we also work for Wellman. We got a lot of W's, as you can tell. But there are other, you know, several other communities that we work for across the state. So.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
One last request, if you could give us some references, that'd be
Sure.
fantastic too.
Yeah, we certainly can do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. All right. Next item on the agenda is appointment approval of fire chief for a 2-year term. So it's my understanding that Steve, you were elected, is that correct? All right,
Motion.
I would need a motion, is that something we will roll call, I assume? Do we do that for
I'm not
appointments?
sure, but let's do it to be
Let's
safe.
do it to be safe, I think for appointments we usually do.
No problem.
I would look for a motion to approve the appointment of Steve for fire chief for a 2-year term.
I'll make a motion to approve Steve Graham as fire chief for a 2-year term.
Moved by Henriksen,
Second.
second by Trump. You would call that roll call for me, please.
Counselor Menson,
Aye.
Counselor Shum,
Aye.
Counselor Sayerson,
Aye.
Counselor Trump,
Aye.
Counselor Henderson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sounds like you're the fire chief.
Congratulations. Alright, next item is discuss overlay of North Street and possible motion.
Yeah, I got a quote ahead of budget time. We discussed it at the budget meeting. Whole reason it's on the agenda tonight is to protect price because asphalt is going up. There's no doubt about it. It's already been factored, but right now we can, if we agree to this, if you choose to do this tonight, we get the old price. And so that'll save us quite a few dollars to the tune of $2,000 or $3,000. I talked with Brad, the representative from Kleesner, and told him that it sounded like we were in favor. He said, as long as we approve it, we'll put it on the books. He said they may show up in May, they may show up in June. They will just know that they won't see any money till July, until the new fiscal year. And they're perfectly okay with that. It might be that they're so busy they don't get here until July, but he's perfectly okay doing that if they have the window. He said if the spring is really wet and they can't, and their sub-base and some of their other jobs is too wet to work, they are always looking for overlay jobs to do because they can do that when it's wetter. So if we approve it, and the total cost for that was $29,000 for the overlay, and the driveways and the manholes are kind of on a let's see how it goes basis, no more than $4,000 more to do manholes for the stretch we're talking about. So manholes and driveways.
And remind me, that was from,
Main Avenue to basically in between the two drives that go into Lynn Co-op. The two drives that we asphalted last year when we did the Main Street overlay. That's basically the best transition point according to Brad. So if we wanted to go all the way to the railroad tracks, it would be an additional $25,000, and that driveway and manhole number would be a lot closer to $5,000 total. So that would be pushing $60,000 if we went all the way to the railroad tracks. But the pavement is in a ton better shape from the Co-op Drive to the railroad tracks than it is from Main to the Co-op Drive. So.
What is the limit for competitive bids?
50.
Is it, okay, I can remember.
Yeah. If we went all the way to the railroad track, we'd probably have to go out and get another couple bids. So.
What kind of warranty did you say they would give us?
Well, it's a normal asphalt warranty. I mean, he's saying it should last 15 years because it's a 3-inch overlay. It's not like the 1.5 inches that we put on Main Street. He calls that a 10-year surface. But because of the truck traffic, this is a 3-inch overlay, and because the concrete is broken up to a certain degree, so they're not going to warranty it out to 15 years. But any problems in the first year that show up will be taken care of.
I guess my big concern is that is broken up pretty bad. And with the heavy truck traffic, I'm wondering if 3 inches will hold up.
He's not concerned at all. He said a lot of towns in that scenario will try and cheapen it up and put 2 inches on and they'll get 10 years out of it, so.
That's not,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's gonna last, you know.
He's telling me that is 3 inches will hold up.
is there any infrastructure under that is in question that we may end up digging this up in 5 years to fix something?
Sewer's been lined, manholes have been lined. There's no curb and gutter there, so, it's just ditches. The one and only spot in town that has ditches. The water line is at 6 inches in that it's probably ductile iron, but it's off the road surface. It could be replaced without tearing up the road.
It's brand new when they did the water project.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's plastic.
Oh, that one is, yeah, that would be, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because then what they added, right, because it was sized big enough to be able to add the extra hydrant for the elevator when they did their expansion. Yep.
Any other questions? Are we interested in locking in a price on this?
This doesn't mean we have to do it, does it? We're just locking a price, or is this, yes, we're doing it?
I would say if you're gonna make a motion, you're doing it.
We're doing it.
Yeah, because they basically are going to, the day that the price increase takes into effect, Kleesner's buying their asphalt from Pelling, which everyone around here does. They're gonna say to Pelling, we need this many tons. So they need to know that they can count on our tons to make that order at that price. So yes, we'll be locking it in, not just price.
And this is the next logical street that needs attention.
Yeah, this street is gonna look exactly like Moot Hart got to if we wait another year, in my opinion, because there's pieces about to flip out of that street. And so then when they start flipping, then we are cutting out big pieces and putting new concrete in. So then where do you stop? You know, if you start replacing concrete slabs here and there, next thing you know, you got half of the thing repaved for the same amount of money it would have taken to repave the entire thing, because you're doing it a piece at a time. And I'm afraid to go all the way to new concrete in this scenario, because we'll wind up spending a fair amount of money, you know, to pour concrete to hold up these trucks. And with all the other things we have going on, including fire station, and wanting to do something with Main Street in the next few years, if we got a 15-year fix out of asphalt, I feel like it's our best
What did
option.
you say that cost would be to do that again?
$29,000 and a little more is the bid for that actual asphalt overlay, and then the shouldering in the driveways and the manhole would be somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. We could cheapen that up a little bit if I take care of the shouldering myself, which is doable. It's a short enough stretch. I can handle the shoulder, no problem. And if there's any concrete at the end of the driveway that needs to be cut out and re-poured to get slope right, we could have our local contractor do it and not pay Kleesner's concrete crew price, which will also cheapen it up too. So it shouldn't be any more than $33,000, no matter how we slice it, period, to get that section done.
I think financially wise, we can handle that.
Yeah, we put it in budget.
Yeah, but I think we ought to be able to handle that.
I think it'll save us in the long run.
We're willing to make a motion on that?
Yeah, I'll take a step. I move we enter into a contract with Kleesner's to put a 3-inch overlay from Main to the elevator. We expect it to cost $29,000 plus another $4,000 for sundry things.
Okay. Motion by Trump,
Second.
second by Hendrickson. All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, discuss lift station pump replacement and possible motion.
When we had Quality Flow here doing maintenance on pumps, we had one when he pulled it out that had worn through the bottom of the housing of the pump. And so we put our spare in, which was the one that we had rebuilt a couple of years ago. And they took that one back to the shop. I got the quote back. Do you have that? I forgot to grab that. We got the quote back. In rough numbers, to repair the old pump was going to be $8,300. It was in such bad shape, it was basically going to be a total rebuild. The electric motor all the way through, seals, bearings, impeller, housing, the entire house. Brand new, matched pump, $7,800. So it's kind of a no-brainer what we do. That being said, we've got 2 pumps in the hole that are working, that are both low hours. The one just got put into service 3 weeks ago, after a rebuild. The other one is our spare that sat here for years, didn't get used, and went in 2 years ago. The one that is bad was put in 2002, and to my knowledge hasn't had any work done to it that I know of. So we wouldn't have to spend $7,800 right away. We would be sorry if we didn't have a spare, if we had an extremely wet period and one of them went bad. We'd kind of be in trouble. That was the reason for having the spare around, was that scenario. So I feel like we need to buy a pump, but kind of would depend. We could push it to next year's budget, but I think there's money in the sewer account to do it now.
Are these the pumps that grab debris? Like, they do get damaged just in normal use regardless of how long they've been in?
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, they're trash pump, they're lift station pumps, they're pushing all the sewage up to the lagoon. So the one that was rebuilt 2 years ago, a lot of the reason it needed a rebuild is because it had a bath towel in it. Tell me how someone got a bath towel in the sewer, I have no idea. But it literally had a bath towel stuck in the impeller and took out bearings and things, so. But that one was in good enough shape to be rebuilt. And that one cost about, I believe it was $2,500 to rebuild, because they didn't have to get into the motor, just bearings and seals. So,
Well, I don't think these pumps are gonna get any cheaper.
no, absolutely not.
And with spring coming, it'd be nice to have a backup.
That's what I'm saying.
By the time you don't plan for this,
Yeah.
it happens.
And we don't have to pay any shipping because we're not in a rush for it, so we don't have to pay them. We can wait until one of their trucks is coming our direction and take delivery then. Surely we'll be okay until they have a truck coming this way. So, in an emergency situation, they're gonna load up 2 guys in a truck and bring that pump, and we're gonna pay buku dollars an hour to have them come down and put that in the hole for us if we're in trouble. So it's nice that we're not in an emergency situation. We can just say, all right, next time the truck's in the area, let me know. I can even drive 50 miles to a town to meet them and load it up and bring it home too, or whatever it needs to be. So.
I might as well go ahead and purchase it.
Yeah, I think so.
Motion by Trump,
Second.
second by Shantz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are on to Resolution 01-2019-1, discuss and approve official publication. That is in your packets. And there's no changes to this? Is it just a renewal?
Yes, correct. Just the annual publication, naming, resolution.
So this names the Lynn newsletter as our official publication. Any questions? Okay, seek a motion.
I move we accept resolution 01-2019-1.
Motion by Menson,
Second.
second by Trump. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is Resolution 01-2019-2, discuss and approve depositor and maximum deposit.
Same thing, no changes, just the annual approval.
Any questions? So
Is this the same limit that we've had in the past?
Yeah, I just went off of the one from
Okay.
last year.
If there's no questions, I would seek a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 01-2019-2. Make naming depositories.
Motion by Shantz,
Second.
second by Menson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, Barb Hand, public comment.
Danielle, there's 2 things that I've been looking for some additional information on.
I emailed.
No, from last week, but this is from the December postings.
Oh, okay.
Mileage reimbursement for $207.10.
Okay.
and reimbursement city purchases of $869.41.
Can you repeat that, sir?
I'm sorry, 20710.
Yep, I got that one.
Okay, reimbursement city purchases, $869.41.
Okay. We have that form we approved last meeting. Do you want me to get that to you afterward to fill out?
Yes.
Okay.
Then a question, I know you guys had your budget meeting on Tuesday. Were you able to get through everything on that? Or will you be doing another budget meeting?
We got through first round, so we
Okay.
will be scheduling a second. So once we get all the numbers plugged in, we'll do another review meeting, so that was not set.
Okay, that's it. I have a question on the 11/28 meeting that you guys have. There's nothing out on the website where you did post something from the special meeting from 7/31, so are you guys not posting anything out there on that meeting?
Is it the video or the minutes for?
All we would have would be minutes, that was from that plat.
Oh,
meeting.
I can get that to you, I apologize. Okay.
Nope, that's fine.
And then the last thing that I have that,
But they would have been, wasn't it in the packet for, were minutes posted with?
Yeah, there, in the last,
They were approved in the December.
last meeting, yeah.
So they'd be included there as well.
it is, you normally had it as separate, and I was just trying to find it. And then the last thing that I want to address with the council is, last month I brought up about the late fees, and I did some more research on it, because I didn't really feel as comfortable with the answers and the responses that I was getting. And so I've contacted 10 different cities, oh, get another one for you. Asking if what they had, their procedures were, if they had a drop box, and if they posted it the very next morning at 8 a.m. when they opened up. And all 10 of them do. Some of them even actually give you a 2-day delay. So I was wanting to get confirmation if you guys were going to start doing it as business hours, that it needs to be posted so that people know, because let's say we get some people coming from one of these communities coming in, they're going to automatically assume, under their assumption, if we don't post things and are specific about it, because the 20th is the 20th, all day.
So after our meeting, because we didn't have the ordinance in front of us, we didn't have anything to review when you brought it up last time, I have reviewed the ordinance, and it does say that it is to be payable at the clerk's office by the 20th.
So what are the business hours that you're going to require it to be? Because how late is how long is this office open?
But we can post hours, absolutely.
Normally till 4, right?
Okay, question then. The bank closes at 3, so you're not depositing that day.
But it's payable at the clerk's office. If it's in the box after business hours, that's not at the office.
So you're going to make sure that that gets out to all citizens? Because
It's the ordinance today. The ordinance says payable at the clerk's office by the 20th.
But it doesn't say anything about the clerk's office is open to this time to this time. Because I came up here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the office is closed.
I do have to apologize, you're not on the agenda.
Sorry.
So yeah, that would have had to come up earlier during
Okay,
turn
sorry.
comment.
Apologize.
Or were you asking that on the Dropbox or somewhere that it says 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or whatever the hours are?
yeah, so that citizens know exactly what the times are, because a lot of people with the Dropbox, they're going to make the assumption that it's going to be for the whole day.
Danielle, do we look into making some clarification for those,
What was
for water bill payments? Should we make some clarification on
Sure,
hours that you check the box?
sure.
I mean, there's a sticker on the post office box that says when it's picked up, so.
And then the other question I have on the bills, there's no confidentiality to those, to us, as coming on a postcard. Have you guys ever thought of going to something else that is not, so anybody can read it who sees it? Like the
So-
post office person can see exactly what somebody's getting charged, if there's any late fees and that type of thing?
I'm going to address, this did come up at the last meeting, that there's an issue with the postcards and the post office as far as them processing them. And there would also be a substantial increase to the cost to the city to go to a paper and envelope system. Because we can no longer use postage stamp, or postcard stamps. So I guess I didn't know that was necessarily confidential information, what water usage is. I mean, it's not any, you know, I've worked in information security for many years and it's not.
Well, no
publicly-
other bills that we get, like your cable bill, your electric bill, none of that, is anybody else can see it?
We can address the confidentiality and review that, but I know there are a lot of cities that do the postcard.
Almost every data tech user uses those postcards. That is their standard utility billing format.
There would be substantial cost for us to modify data tech to go to a different kind of printing system.
Because it does have my name and address on it, so they can find me.
All your mail does. On the outside of an envelope would be your name and address.
But they also find a lot of information on it too, so.
Such as
Your usage of that,
water
it's
usage.
finding,
Like, that's
some
not a
people-
credit card number, that's water use, like.
has the
that's
account
not-
number, has my account number and stuff, so it could use it for potentially other purposes.
But the city doesn't hold any other personally identifiable information on our citizens.
Okay, just bringing it up.
Anything else?
Nope, that is it.
All right. Move to old business, MSA update on current projects.
Just what yeah, that's right, we didn't get it in. That was my failure.
Thank you.
Basically, they're not done working up the numbers for the culvert and the sewer extension. So they are basically filling us in on where they're at so far.
Do they have an estimate? I haven't seen this.
They said they're gonna get it by the 18th for review.
I had an understanding we'd have it for this meeting, but we obviously didn't get it done, so.
Because when did they want to start the culvert project? Wasn't that before things got planted?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, especially if we're gonna do any work in the farm field, we gotta have a plan ahead of that. But, you know, even if we get this in the February meeting, we should be good to go to get some quotes, because it'll be under the limit, so we can get competitive quotes in time and in short order and get it done, but, so we're not hurt yet.
No, but let's
For
move
sure.
them to the 18th.
Yeah,
because I feel
absolutely.
like this has
Absolutely.
gone on a little bit.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on this? All right. Building inspection, discuss on current contract.
I finally got a hold of Marion's building inspector, Gary Hansen. He said that they would be interested in doing our inspections. They are currently in the process of taking their rates up for doing inspections because they're operating at a loss within the city of Marion, so they decided they'd probably better take their rates up. It'd be $65 an hour if we want to use them. I asked him about how quick they could respond. We're already using their electrical inspector, and generally that's same day or next day, and he said the building inspections would be the same unless they are absolutely swamped in Marion. Obviously their stuff comes first. So same day or next day in most cases, which is tremendously better response time than we're getting right now. We're definitely paying less with Vince at Robbins than the $65 an hour, but we're also hearing regular complaints from contractors about them being strung out because they can't get their inspections done in a timely manner, you know, keeping, especially on finals, so that people can get their move-in inspection done so they can start living in their new house. So we've heard this enough over the last few months. I guess my recommendation would be we could go this route. If we go this route, we are going to have to amend our 2080 with Marion because he's not sure the language that we have with our current 2080 will handle the building permit portion of it. So that's easy enough done. If you move ahead and pursue them as our building inspector, then we just handle the 2080 afterwards. Gary said he could probably make the adjustments on the 2880 and send it to us for our approval, and then it would be a done deal. So, and they would start anytime that we're ready and they agree to this. So, it would be my recommendation to go that route.
Is that a decision you need tonight necessarily?
We could wait. I mean, obviously right now there's not much construction, or if you want to sit on it till next meeting, we can put it on the agenda.
I
for
just
next
heard a
meeting.
couple of gentlemen that say they do building inspections, and I didn't know if that's worth
Oh,
getting a quote
Well,
and
sure.
and looking at, I mean,
Sure.
we've looked at other cities and resource sharing there, but
yeah,
there might be other opportunities.
okay, yeah. Yeah, we can look
That's just
into
my
it.
opinion.
Yeah, we can dig in a little deeper. We reached out to a couple other towns, and a lot of our neighbors don't have anything great going on right now either. They were saying, oh yeah, definitely do this. We weren't getting that response, so that's why, at least with Marion, knowing they have a crew of inspectors, we knew we could get some stuff done, so. And we can keep going with events until we make a decision. You definitely don't have to decide to. So. I'll just talk with Tim later, and we'll see what's cooking.
Yeah, why don't you just search around a little bit?
All right,
Doesn't hurt.
will do.
Well, I just,
Were you having a problem getting ahold of these people
Yep.
there too? And
Yep.
you know, that kind of makes you wonder.
It does, it
And
does.
talk to these guys are average.
Yeah, will do.
okay, I think that's all on that. City Hall open house, discuss time and date. I think I'd like to table that until Mayor McClintock is back, because that's kind of his rodeo, so see what he
Okay.
wants to do.
I can send out an email when I'm done with the renovations that were approved, and then decision can be made whenever. So I'm sure I'll probably have it done next week or early the following.
All right, and then, I know it's not on the agenda, but do we need to publicly set a date and time for our next budget workshop?
Yeah, probably wouldn't hurt you.
Did we talk again next Tuesday? I mean, pretty quickly,
Why
right?
don't we do it for Tuesday?
Yeah, I saw from other reasons Josh might not be available, but if we could get the majority of us here.
Tuesday will work, Thursday won't for me, so.
would-
Thursday won't work for me.
Thursday won't, but Tuesday would.
Yes.
Tuesday's fine. Chester,
Right,
Bethany?
this will be the revenue portion of it, it'll go faster. Because that's pretty well cut and dried.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 15th, 7 PM, City Hall.
Sounds good.
I got a little.
I'm sorry, when was that meeting?
Next Tuesday, January 15th, 7 PM,
Thank
City
you.
Hall.
Go ahead.
We don't need Steve for that, correct, because it's revenues?
Yeah.
This is all revenue, so.
You're welcome.
Wasn't in there. I had it there too.
Oh, that's okay.
And I can confirm I will not be available.
Okay,
So, we got enough.
all right, perfect. All right, and with that, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Menser, second by Trump. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.